Hi friends, how are we doing today? I hope everyone is having a fabulous Friday so far. My name is McCry Stuhlin, and welcome back to another fun-filled episode of Everything Freaky and Full of Mystery. Here, we work on a current project from Native Crow Taxidermy and Oddities, LLC, while I tell an interesting story of anything under the topics of the supernatural, downright shocking, or uncomfortably cringy. Here are a few places you could find me, like me, share me, and subscribe to my channel to keep up with new projects and posts weekly. So today we will be working on this partial deer skull. I will be placing it on this wall plaque to become a beautiful piece of wall art for anyone's home. We're going to be creating a geode effect within the skull and using artificial florals to bring this piece to natural beauty and life. Now let's start our interesting story for today. Many movies have incorporated a beautiful half woman, half fish. There have been many children's movies with a creature like this, a creature we all know as a mermaid. Another known name for them is siren. They carry the appearance of having the body of a human, in most cases a woman, from the torso up, and a fish-like body from the torso down. In some descriptions, they also have webbing between their fingers to aid in swimming. However, original sirens were depicted as having half bird body rather than half fish. Somewhere along the way, the image turned to half fish, maybe because it looked more appealing. The first known story of a mermaid originated around 1000 BC in Syria. The story goes, the goddess, Atargatis, fell in love with a shepherd man, and she accidentally ended his life. Because of her grief and shame, she threw herself into the lake and formed into a fish. The water and the other gods, however, did not want her to lose her beauty, so rather than making all of her fish, she kept her beautiful face and upper torso. That's where the appearance of the mermaid originated. Mermaids seem sweet and majestic in children's movies, but when they are viewed as sirens rather than mermaids, they carry a much darker and scarier trait. They are known for luring sailors close by their beauty and song. Then when the sailors get close enough, they are grabbed and dragged to their death underwater. A movie that shows the scary side of these creatures well is the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Of course, I'm going to mention that movie again. Many people from all parts of the world have claims and accounts of seeing mermaids. Christopher Columbus was actually one who believed he saw one. He wrote about his experience in his journal, reading something along the lines of seeing 3 mermaids alongside him and his boat, but thinking they weren't as pretty as he had heard. They looked to have manly faces, rather than beautiful feminine faces. Though there wasn't much information of his account, it is believed that the animal he was actually seeing was a manatee. He was in an area manatees inhabited, and often they are mistaken to be mermaids. They have large, pale bodies and big flipper tails and a cute face. Although the face looks nothing like a pretty woman, so that part of it can leave some questioning. It is a crazy thought that this is a known creature in all places around the world. It is a universal creature of legend, and illustrations show that it's been around for centuries. Some cultures view this creature as a bad omen, while others worship it, thinking it's a goddess. But no matter where you are while learning about it, it is always the same. Half human, half fish. How can a mythical creature be the exact same everywhere around the world? First drawings and illustrations of these creatures appears on cave paintings dating back to about 30,000 years ago. This animal is known to live in both freshwater and saltwater. In stories, the mermaid is a rare animal said to only appear before violent storms, potentially because the fish are easier to catch through the waves. Supposed accounts claim they've seen mermaids jump through the waves with fish in their hands during storms on the open water. Though there are stories and claims of seeing mermaids, definitively saying they are real can't be done. Scientists have looked themselves and so far have not found any humanoid fish yet. Even though so little of the ocean has been explored, this is a creature that is thought to be a mammal, needing to stay close to the water surface, like dolphins and whales, so they could come up for air. So saying that it has hidden in the depths is highly unlikely. And even if it did, we have already discovered so many creatures of the depths. How could we have missed the mermaid? If mermaids didn't live in the depths and the animal was real, there would be many accounts and sightings of these animals. There have been many times people have tried to take videos or images claiming they found a real mermaid. But unfortunately, almost all, if not all, accounts have been debunked. For example, there was a clip with sound eliminated stating scientists were carrying the body of a mermaid on a stretcher that was found on the beach. However, if the sound is turned back on in the video, the conversation associated is the artists who made this prop for the movie, if you can guess it, Pirates of the Caribbean. Yes, the mermaid in this video looks incredibly real, but that's because it was designed and well crafted to be used in the movie. Another supposed sighting worth mentioning came from the Kei Islands during 1943. Japanese soldiers were stationed on this island and had heard of a fish-like humanoid creature that occasionally came ashore. This one was known to have pinkish, scaly skin, spines on the head, and 2 legs rather than a long fishy tail. The locals on this island called it the orang ikan, meaning human fish. The locals said if they came across one or caught one, they'd inform the soldiers so they could take a look at it themselves. A few days later, the soldiers were called in. An orang ikan had been discovered, already deceased along the beach. The chief was shocked to see the creature. He described it as being about 5 foot 2 inches, with shoulder-length red hair. It had a grossly ape-like face, with small ears, and its hands and feet had long digits with webbing in between. Even though he felt this needed to be shared, when he told others, including zoologists, about what he saw, no one took him seriously. With no photo or physical evidence, it was nothing more than a story. I thought it was kind of interesting that he had so much descriptive details on this creature and tried to describe it to all these people, but nobody believed him. They just believed that he was telling stories. But I suppose I can agree myself that you have to see it to believe it. So from that standpoint, I understand why these people chose to believe that he was just storytelling. Some stories say mermaids often swim alongside dolphins, playing with them and hunting fish with them. There was a sighting of a mermaid swimming and keeping up with a group of dolphins in 1998 off the coast of Hawaii. It is said that she even leapt up into the air like the dolphins do. There was photo evidence of this, but it was too hard to determine if they were real or if it was staged and someone was dressed up just for the photo. The image was shot from underwater looking up at the mermaid. It was really just a silhouette of the mermaid. If the picture had been taken of it jumping up out of the water with the dolphins, that would have been more believable. It's just hard to understand why someone would get into the water to take the pictures rather than take the picture of it and the description they gave with their story. People all around the world have tried to share their videos, stories, and proof of mermaid encounters, but looking into them in depth has not brought a definite truth that they actually exist. There are many documentaries regarding the study of mermaids. One I watched as a kid was Mermaids, The Body Found, and the New Evidence, which aired on Animal Planet. They set up this program to make it seem like real scientists had studied whales washed up on shore. They had gone to the shoreline to originally study a mass number of beached whales and figure out why they had washed ashore. They had discovered these whales had blunt force trauma and picked up weird sound waves or echolocation sounds from the ocean. As they were examining the bodies, they noticed government officials and the Navy had particular area blocked off and they were examining something. If the government hides something from the public, there must be some truth to keep secret they don't want the world to know about. Upon the team's research and digging, they found that the creature being hidden was a mermaid, and the new sound waves they were picking up on were the vocalizations of the mermaids. I remember being completely invested and mind blown as I watched it, and my dad would pass by glancing at the TV, then start laughing out loud, shaking his head. I'd say, "Why are you laughing? This is real. They have it on camera. It's real." But little did I know it was all a hoax for publicity. It's sad to know that I've leaned on Animal Planet for a lot of education in my life, and discovering that they don't even cover truth and facts all the time is just heartbreaking. That they fabricate a whole fictional story just to get views. With Mermaids, The Body Found being such a big hit, they returned with the second documentary called Mermaids, The New Evidence. They had some interesting theories on what mermaids were and where they came from. One of which being that mermaids were all part of an evolution line. That apes had evolved to be sea humanoids as living conditions forced them to move towards the water. That the group of apes split, and some lived in the water while others found resources and survival on a smaller portion of land. Those were the ones that evolved into humans, like us, whereas the sea-dwelling ape evolved into mermaids. There, they would observe dolphins hunting in the waters and learn from them as well as make tools for hunting. They supposedly would harvest the spurs off of stingrays and make spears to catch the fish. A common predator they had to learn to avoid was the megalodon, a giant prehistoric shark capable of taking down a whale. Another interesting theory I learned about regarding mermaids was that they were aliens. Some believe mermaids are aliens that came to Earth after all the water on their planet had dried up. Mermaids had discovered that Earth was mostly water and joined our planet for the means of survival. The reason we haven't seen them is because they don't want to be seen. They can camouflage and hide like their pets. That's right. It is believed that the alien mermaids keep octopus as pets. Now, the reason why octopus are pets and not any other creature is strictly because octopus are weird and unlike other creatures. But in the way that they can change color when spotted, they can change texture when spotted, and they have 8 legs. And the only reason we know so much about the octopus, but not the mermaid, is because as a pet, they don't know better to hide. Just like our pet dog doesn't know to hide from a stranger. Now, I almost invested in the theory that mermaids were aliens until I got to this point. The octopus is a pet? That just seems a little silly. Especially because of the reasoning why the octopus is the chosen pet. In doing some research on mermaids, I took the time to watch some videos on encounters people had. Honestly, some of them cracked me up so hard. I want so badly to believe that there could be mermaids, but with so many people desperately trying to fabricate videos and pictures, it makes it so hard. Some of the videos I watched were just way too obviously fake. One that made me laugh pretty hard was a small group of fishermen on a tiny boat, like a bass boat, had supposedly hooked and pulled in a mermaid. How they got something as large as, if not larger than them in the boat, I don't know. I imagine it would have been putting up a fight that could have flipped the boat, especially since we're talking about something that is half human with arms and intelligence. But anyway, there were 3 men holding it up. One holding the tail, and the other 2 were holding each shoulder. They were wobbly and unsteady on their feet, trying to make it seem like the mermaid, an obvious inanimate prop, was putting up a fight. The narrative behind the video even said the animal is trying to get free and it is throwing these people around, even though it was stiff and lifeless. Then, out of nowhere, one of the guys throws himself backwards off of the boat with the mermaid, and it claims that the mermaid jumped out of their arms and pulled the man in with it. But again, it was stiff. No thrashing of its tail or anything. I've caught a bass that moved more than this thing did. It was just quite comical to see these guys trying to act like they got this mermaid for real and that it's dragged one of them into the water. Watching this was like those hilarious scenes in a movie where an animal jumps on the character and they are obviously holding like a stuffed animal to their neck and screaming like it's attacking them. That's exactly what this mermaid video was like. Just truly ridiculous. I can't help but discredit a creature when there are so many desperate hoax videos floating around out there. Another funny example of a mermaid hoax video that I watched during my research was another situation where there were men on a fisher boat and they had caught the mermaid. Of course, it always shows the video after the mermaid is already in the boat, not the process of pulling it into the boat. But these men were trying to hold it down, and it was obviously somebody in a costume this time, not just a fake inanimate prop. And the person in the costume was opening his mouth and making this screechy sound to make it seem like it was a mermaid trying to scream. And they were trying to pick it up, but it was too heavy for these men to lift, which was also really funny. And it ended up cutting short as they were trying to move it back towards the water, because obviously they didn't want to throw this man overboard into the water in this costume that he wouldn't be able to swim in. But there's just another comical example of people trying extra hard to prove that they caught a mermaid on camera. I personally feel like after watching so many hoax videos, it feels to me like people are desperately trying to prove something that even they have realized isn't real. When you try so hard to prove something that you go to the extent of making a fake video to prove your point, all that validates is that even you have accepted it's not real, but are too prideful to admit it. Sometimes we have to bite the bullet and admit when we are wrong. The thought of mermaids being among us is a cool idea, but that's all it is. There's not enough evidence showing that these animals actually exist. Until something real presents itself, these creatures are and only will be an entertaining mythical character in a story. Now, I know that there are many creatures that people have made hoax videos and pictures claiming that they saw them or witnessed them. And it's easy to say, like, oh, that's fake, that's not real, I don't believe in this creature. But there are some creatures that I still believe in more than I do the mermaid. The mermaid just seems like there's very, very little evidence, and with the technology that we have today, I feel like there's no reason why we shouldn't have discovered them by now. But a creature that I do kind of believe in myself is the Bigfoot or the Sasquatch. While there are a lot of fake videos and pictures floating around on the internet, the only reason why I could say part of me believes that is just because of my own experiences that I've had. I've grown up living in the country and living in the woods, and I've heard things, I've seen things, I've had objects thrown at me before, and I've been completely alone out there in the woods every time I've been experiencing these events. So because of that, part of me does wonder or feel like there are some of these mythical creatures or lore that are real out there. Unfortunately, I just cannot say that I believe the mermaid is one of them. Again, we should have seen something more than what we have, and we should have more information on them if they were real. Now, it might sound silly to discredit mermaids over other mythical creatures, but that's just how I feel in this moment. Of course, I'm not completely saying that Bigfoot is a definite real creature, but I've seen enough myself, heard enough myself to think that potentially it is a real creature. walking amongst us, and it's just doing a fine job keeping itself hidden. I think scientists have been heavily invested in the sea world, ocean life, that with having so much time spent there and so many different teams looking deep into that, that's why I feel like a mermaid should have been discovered by now if it were a real thing. I don't think that there are as many people wandering around in wooded area here around the United States, exploring, looking deep with science and technology and tooling to find what creatures live out there. I think that more attention is put in the ocean life at this time. It is said that by 2030, we are planning or expecting to have 100% of the ocean floor explored and seen. So I think that's also why they are investing as much time and energy and resources as they are into ocean life and exploration right now. Even though my research and my experience in looking into mermaids kind of validated that they just don't seem real to me, I do still think that this was a fun and interesting topic. And if you guys want to check out those funny hoax videos, I do highly recommend them because they did crack me up pretty good. There were some of them that were really incredibly far-fetched, and doing the research, getting to watch those videos, it was definitely worth it. I enjoyed this episode, I enjoyed this topic, and I really hope that you guys did too. I upload everything freaky and full of mystery every Friday. Last Friday I did have to skip because it was a heavy, emotional, crazy, hectic week for me. But moving forward, I will do my best to upload every Friday. So you could catch me here making more videos like this every Friday. And every Wednesday I upload a video called Crafting with Crow, where I do work on another project from Native Crow Taxidermy and Oddities LLC. But I tell stories of anything that is just on my mind. It could be under any topic. And some of them are really fun and fascinating. Some of them are just cutting up and having a good time. So if you like watching stuff like that too, be sure to check me out every Wednesday under Native Crow. Keep your eyes peeled for this project. I will be posting it on my Facebook and Instagram, and I will be listing it up there for claim, up for grabs. I think it looks pretty fantastic. What do you guys think? Thank you for joining me today and watching this episode. Join me again next week. See you guys next time.